Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes. Perfecto.
Hello, good afternoon. Is this volume okay? Can you hear me all right? Okay. Hello, good afternoon. Great to meet you. I am Alicia Laszlo, and I'm here to talk to my partner, my colleague Mauricio Genta. We'll be talking about the cooperation between the National General Archive in Argentina and Wikimedia Argentina in this project that includes making the Caras and Caretas fund part of the public domain. And these are images from the Caras y Caretas magazine. I am Mauricio Vegenta from Wikimedia Argentina. I've been in charge of this project for a few years now. We'd like to tell you about the creation of this project. As Wikimedians do and every chapter does around the world, we started by getting institutions to send us the material, as in the global north. However, we'd like to tell you about our context, our global south context, and how we made things work, or I think we did, because this is still a working process. So please start, Alicia. Thank you. So we'd like to tell you about how this project started. It started in 2019. But to do this, we need to go back to the first Wikimedia collaboration, the first test. I'm not sure if you the top image you cannot see. The idea was to make a number of images available through Wikimedia. These are images taken by from the documentary heritage unit of the archive. This is from the Whitcomb collection in Wikimedia. They have the oldest images from Argentina. What mattered the most to us at the time was making the content available to the public. Also, we wanted to widen the community of users, because these were documents that could just be consulted physically. You needed to attend the consultation room at the General Archive. So with Wikimedia, we found this opportunity, and we provided around 200 photographs from this unit so that they could upload them on the internet. On the right, you can see that the information focused mainly on the image content, and the description had to do with the image. I'm not sure you can read the words here underneath the images, but the words describe the image, and in some cases we included the inventory number leading to the original document.
We had this first trial solved. We had for the next stages to adjust the issue of not decontextualizing the image. We needed to focus on the origin of these images, where they came from, because it was a fundamental basis was archival work. And so in parallel to this first initial work, Argentina passed the law of access to public information, the right to access to public information. This is a fundamental law for Argentina and all the countries, because it talks about displaying government actions. It's a control and monitoring of civil society, which has access to the government documents. So initially, this law refers to the transparency of government actions and the greatest dissemination and the opening and access to this data so that they can be used, reused, and processed by users. And in this framework, Wikimedia and the National Archives approached the next topic, the Caras y Caretas archive. This is the Caras y Caretas magazine fund of the publishing house, and the documentary series is writing dossiers, that is, the photographs that were used for the publication of the magazine. And you can see there, these are basic data that we work with, which is the identifier code, extreme dates, the producing institution of the organization, which is from 1819 to 2019, and the supporting material is paper and acetate cardboard. And we saw the possibility of completing a total digitalization of this documentary fund, and see that it's for 119 units of conservation for 119 boxes. And what was pending from another stage was 21 boxes that had not been digitalized. We presented this to Wikimedia and offered this possibility, and it was accepted. And what was done at this time was to sign an agreement which established which would be the planning of the work process and not just the end product. And concerning this topic, decisions were made together concerning the digitalization process and what was necessary to maintain the integrity of the documents and the information. And so the General Archive of the Nation provided not just the product that is the original material, I mean the documentary heritage the asset, but also everything connected with information about the source, the place of procedence, and the context of conservation of the documentation, in addition to archivists that work together all the time. And also, from the other side, what Wikimedia contributed was the digitalization specialist and the equipment, the technology to do all this. From there, we started, and this is the end result, which very soon will be offered online. And you can see that we not only have the image of the back side of the image, the front side and the back side, and this was essential for us to be able to approximate in this digital representation as close as possible to the physical object and document. And if you see the references that are offered now, have not only the inventory number, but they also have the acronyms of the origin, what action and activity of the Caras y Caretas magazine belongs this document, what is the documentary fund, and where it is located, and in what institution and in what country. And this type of nomenclature is circulated internationally, based and is ruled by the International Council of Archives. And there's a search and a work and progress of the archive and Wikimedia to take the images in their context, following good professional standards. And so what we are estimating is that we will finish this project by the end of this year, and then we will continue to work with future projects precisely. So, as I had said before, this is a way to show how to work with an important institution, one of the largest archivist institutions in Argentina, and it's worth as an experience, and also to show to some other regional chapters and other institutions in Argentina, showing that it's possible to do good job, even if the work is small or large. And it's important to experiment with open refine, and we haven't uploaded with Open Refine, but it's all structured in Commons, and um, the fullest form that we can do it for by the end of this year or the beginning of the next one. And in Argentina, we would like to highlight that our law of access to information is based on the OAS, which many other countries in the region imitate. So this law allows us, and I will read it because I cannot say it by heart, is to search, access, request, receive, copy, analyze, reprocess, reuse, and redistribute freely. So those of us who work with Creative Commons licenses will be known to us that because it allows us to do everything we wish. It's like having it in a CCD, and it's something that opens for all national institutions or any institution receiving public funding to do the work, not only because it mandates that it be done this way, but also that it's in open formats. But the law requires that you are proactive and to make all this material to be in its own web pages, and so it makes Wikimedia be an ideal partner. And so we will continue to work, and once it's all finished, we will present a workbook, or we publish information so that it can be used by whoever needs it. And we will see how we can continue to collaborate with these institutions, with the archive, or any other institution that wishes to be part of this. And that's all. Thank you.
Em português.
Please use interpreting devices because I will be speaking in Portuguese. I will speak about GLAM libraries, and this is an initiative of university libraries with Wikimedia projects that are done in Brazil, more specifically in the city of Sao Paulo, and even more specifically in the University of Sao Paulo. In this presentation I'll be making very specifically will provide a context and the beginning of the project and the access lines that are in the context of information. I will try to present the Wikipedia research and other things that we do, and the importation of records in our institutional repository for Wikidata, and I will finalize by talking about lessons learned of this process. I think that the PowerPoint will be available, and there are several links you can use to see more details of the project. What is the University of Sao Paulo? It's a public university that is located in Brazil with 8 campuses. It's the largest research information in Brazil, with 340 undergraduate courses and 364 postgraduate courses with masters and PhDs, and 48 libraries. The big library of USP was the GLAM Bibliotecas a USP was created in 2020 and is made up of 3 libraries, and it arises from the connection of 3 libraries of the University of Sao Paulo with a Wiki movement in Brazil. It's a partnership with them to have access to the USP libraries. We work in each library with our topics, but we collaborate to learn together. And concerning convergence, what actions we can carry out together based on the interest of having autonomy in learning and ownership of the project. The experience I'm sharing with you is from the library I work with, that is the one in the School of Communications and Information, and the Institute of Mathematics and Statistics, where my colleague works. So the two of us prepared this presentation. One of the things that we do, I will go very briefly here so that I don't go over time. When we see the entries, we see the biography. It's collections of the library, really gives us a privileged view to access of information and access to information to create quality entries, and we always seek to have a connection of the entry with Wikidata. And one of the things that we do with Wikidata is to through InfoCache, which you can see here, that is based on data that we have prepared with the teachers in Wikidata, and these are images that we have published in the commons, and we connected it with Wikidata, and we structure all the images that we see there, that we integrate them with Wikidata. In Wikipedia, one concern we had was to generate categories for our teachers and our students in the university. We created categories for organizing information in Wikipedia, which is something important to librarians to do, to organize the universe of the categories in Wikipedia. And in that process, we reached 21 articles and what with 40 teachers of ECA and 7 of the IME. We subjected the articles to the evaluation of the community to see if the articles had any problems, and we didn't try to go to extremes with our evaluation, but we always sought more than one perspective for evaluation so that we would get a star. And we got in touch with the community, and we can develop the content, and you learn about Wikipedia and how to write a good article about a researcher, a biographical article. When we write an article in Wikipedia about a researcher, we don't need to follow a fixed structure, but something is clear. We show the person that the biography will be made, and we make the connection with the field of knowledge, and that has to be included in the text. There are people who wish to change the topics of the career of the person in a text, and that is not so. We need to say which is the person's field and how they have contributed to that field, and what information we can provide to prove their value in that field of knowledge. And we structure the article with the person's career. What we do not know in the articles, for example, is a list of the works of a teacher that have been published by them. We don't do that because there are people who have 300, 400 works, and so it's not viable. In some cases it is important. Young researcher that published 30, 40 books, then in that case we might include them, but there isn't a fixed rule. It's always case by case. And here I brought an image. I think you can see other examples of integration that we have made with Wikidata. We like it a lot, and whenever it is possible to go to Wikidata or use Wikipedia to externalize the data that we publish in Wikidata, we use this box here in the corner, such as in works of arts, where we use and we catalog those works of the audiovisual teacher, and we create in Wikidata, and we create an article in Wikipedia, and we integrate it with the works of the teacher. It's a record of their works, and so it is available in the teacher's entry. For us, in the field of arts, we found it very interesting as to include small artistic collections, so that can be strategic to use that for giving a visibility to the teacher's production and put it in Wikipedia. If we only publish it in Wikidata, we will not have the same reach as if it is included in Wikipedia. Another integration with Wikidata was the creation of a metadata that is a small square that you can see in the control of authority. It really is very small, but we have created in the articles of the teachers a link with the metadata so that we can click and the person goes to the repository or USB repository to have access to all the cataloging of the teachers' scientific production. With Wikipedia, we click on the square and we are sent to Wikidata. When we write an article about the teacher, whenever possible, we try to have a link between the dissertation of the PhD or the master's, and we don't include a list of works because it's not a scientific publication that is connected to the training process, but we include the link so that people have access to the information. And very quickly, I will go to another action that was the importation of records of scientific production to Wikipedia of ECA and IME. And what was the object? We took scientific articles of those teachers that are available in the repository of intellectual production, and we drew them from that CSV format, such as spreadsheets, when we sent it to Wikidata. We are librarians and we work in a research university, so I'm always concerned about the visualization of information. It's not enough to take what I have in the repository and throw it in the Wikidata and say, oh, that's my job is done. No, how do I communicate? How do I visualize the production of the University of Sao Paulo in this database? So we do a cataloging and a survey of the data of a part of the field of knowledge, and there can maybe an article that has the authors have also been recorded, and I want to connect that author with a teaching department or a postgraduate program, or I want to do it with a unit within the University of Sao Paulo. And so we did all this cataloging, and so it's important for me to go to Wikidata, start from the queries and say, well, this person has so many publications, or this unit has so many publications, this program has women women teacher productions, other has men's, and so it's what I want to do. It's not how I do it, but also why. It's fundamental to think about all these aspects and consider that we will need to survey a lot more data than what we have and what it has been already cataloged, and that will lead us to making decisions about the extension and the level of detail of the records that we will do. All of these decisions have been taken in this process, and the cataloging in the library is Mark 21 format, and we removed it from that format and we made a conversion for Wikidata, and we did the statement, quick statement and the open refine to create two metadata, one to identify the person, that is a repository of the production of the USP. We cannot access, but I have researcher X, and I will go into the Wikidata record and have the identifier of the person in the repository of USP production, and I included a value there, and you click it, and then you go on the production to the production that has been recorded in the libraries.
After creating this article, we will connect it with its WISP repository. From that link, you can access the library indexation, also the cataloging, and the file cannot always be opened because there is the issue of magazine copyright. It doesn't have to do with the university, but with the different magazine rules. So what did we do? We interconnected data sets. Our data sets from the repository, we wanted to connect it to Wikidata. If possible, we do this with the Wikipedia as well. From the process, we recorded 1,870 articles, 647 teachers. We did not record the references, unfortunately. It was impossible because it would have been a lot of work, but interesting work as well, because we could see the map of the connections between researchers about how we can produce knowledge. All the data recorded by considering why and how we can use them were important. So we went to Scholia, which allows us to visualize the data embedded in Wikidata. We can see data about people, departments, institutions. It was a ready-to-use resource. And it was very interesting because it was available. We could use it to see our reality. So it's a great advantage, and this caught our attention. Also, we're interested in Scholia because it is connected with the scientific context, information, queries, visualization, everything has to do with university life. Scholia is interesting, but it's not a good solution for us regarding data visualization because it has an English interface, and I want the interface to be in Portuguese, my language. So this is a limitation in Scholia. I work with communicating works of art, and the works of art might be exhibitions, music. Music is also an intellectual product. And Scholia, given the queries it uses, it doesn't manage to retrieve these productions. It only works with scientific production. It's very good, but it's not good for us. We'd love to have an interface to visualize data that reflect our reality.
A partir dessas questões que eu trouxe, eu vou tentar trazer aqui alguns apontamentos.
Now I'd like to say a few things about the library resources that we have used when working with Wikimedia products. We need to make progress in order to have new data visualization strategies. We need to reflect as librarians and with groups or affiliates present projects. We need to consider what they can do with these projects, how they can use data differently. It's not just about replicating a catalog. We need to be careful because we are working with open data links. Therefore, we need to collect a lot of data. For instance, having taken a list of Brazilian authors who are of African descent, for instance, and we need a list, but we had almost no information. And this will really help us as librarians. It has a huge potential. What happens with structuring information and abstract entities? And it's not just the books that I have in my repository that I might contribute to Wikidata. Library scientists then have a great potential, not as the end, but as the beginning of the action, when we consider how this universe is structured and how it goes beyond the title, author, number of pages, etc. We need to have, teams need time and resources in Portuguese, which is the language I speak, so that we can take the necessary action. I believe that our partnership with affiliates is essential in order to take action in libraries. And it's essential for these partnerships to know what each context can do. Some libraries do not have the necessary conditions for people to work. In some libraries, people want to learn and develop. It's very important for this to be clear, and this needs to be stated and should be done in order to cater to the needs of the public. Also, partnerships should be for the long run, so that people can work with the Wikimedia projects. I think it's important to have ready-made projects to involve librarians in order to communicate and attract them. For instance, to show them what they can do with Wikidata. And it's quite strategic because it's a way to whet people's appetite. And it's important to understand why people are interested, which copyright issues they have, and other issues that have to do with the libraries. For instance, we are working on a specific action. We've just imported in Wikidata a collection of data and the action catalog of handwritten musical scores, but we cannot make them available on Wikimedia Commons. The alternative we found was creating new metadata in order to connect the record of that music score with our USB library, because our catalog has already digitalized music scores. They are uploaded to the system. And access will depend on the copyright restrictions. So that was a solution we found by considering our reality and also to respect copyright. We should go beyond this principle of library actions. The proposals only focus on data entry. We always work with a semantic web. And also, we can replicate contents, that's okay, libraries already do that. But which are my queries and what does Wikidata offer me that is not offered by the library catalog? It's an invitation to reflect and to involve library professionals. So this is what I had to share with you. I try to be very brief. If you have any questions or doubts, please let me know. Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Irene Tobón from Colombia. I would like to tell you about the Banrep Cultural Encyclopedia. Banrep Cultural is an encyclopedia on the cultural heritage in Colombia. Some context. This is an encyclopedia that is based on Wikimedia, that is a Wikipedia data manager as used by Wikimedians, but also by other projects that belong to other institutions. We are talking about the Colombian cultural heritage managed by Banco de la República. It's open access, but its editing is restricted. Some background. Banco de la República is a central bank in Uruguay. They issue money. But something specific happens in Chile. This bank has a major cultural role. This is a case of many central banks, but in Colombia, this is a huge role. We participate in 29 cities in the region. We have cultural centers, museums, and libraries. This encyclopedia project was created after a need was identified at the Luis Ángel Arango Library. This was towards 2003. Why? Because so many people attended the library. It was so many school children as well that had questions. And someone thought about using the internet to answer these questions. So, ayuda de tareas, or help with homework, was part of the library in Luis Ángel Arango. We would answer school children's questions. The topics were general. This was an alternative to Wikipedia for several reasons. Why? Because at the time Wikipedia wasn't as popular and as well known as it is now. And also at the time, as you may know, Wikipedia, people thought that Wikipedia was not rigorous. So the idea was to provide content supported by the institution to this public. The project started in 2003 on our website. And between 2005 and 2009, everything stayed more or less the same, but we went from HTML to a content manager called Drupal. Yeah, and at the time, Drupal had a wiki module, and that's when we transitioned to a sort of wiki with these contents. However, towards 2013, we started assessing and reviewing the project. And the world of wikis had evolved quite a lot, and we changed the direction of the project because now we focused on the Colombian heritage managed by Banco de la República, and also our audience would be more uh, advanced regarding research. This could be beginners, such as in final years of high school and university students, but we were not catering to school children any longer or helping them do their homework. In 2017, we started using the Wikimedia Manager. In 2018, we started experimenting with tailor-made manager solutions. We made it look more similar to the look of the Banrep Cultural platform. And also, we started to include many other topics.
República tiene frente no
Our secondary unit deals with libraries, but also art, music, archaeology, and coins. In 2021, towards 2021, we started creating content regarding thematic content of our unit, and this is when things get more interesting because once again we are not so focused on covering specific biographies or topics, but rather contents are now linked to thematic projects as led by the cultural unit. Some clear examples. We worked with some public units, and this was called Famous Colombian Women. This, as I said, this is a restricted access encyclopedia, but we find the support of public institutions, and this was the case with the Colombian Women Project. It's the same thing that happens with Wikipedia. There is an underrepresentation of women compared to men. At the time, we realized that we had around 700 biographies of famous Colombians, and 10% were women. So we talked to our social media audience, and we made a list of Colombian women that were missing. We started writing then biographies in order to fill in those gaps. We have published and edited around 200 articles that are now included in the encyclopedia. We also have our other project, as in the bicentennial project of One Nation in the World. This is a cross-cutting project that is addressed in all our cities, and it has to do with the independence of our country. There are other related projects. We have created different types of content. Each content has a link to the encyclopedia. For instance, Inocencio Chinca, who was one of our independence heroes. We wrote his biography. We developed this Play-Doh animation in order to disseminate information about him, and this is published as well. These contents are also disseminated through the stories, through Instagram stories about the bicentenary, and they show anecdotes of the independence of Colombia. The latest versions of those stories are related to articles from the encyclopedia. These articles, the most recent ones, are not biographies. Rather, we include deeper or more complex research content. Therefore, stories have also allowed us to tell these more sophisticated stories. There is also the El Río Territorios Posibles project. This is led by our unit to talk about the issue of rivers in our country. We talk about basins, populations in basins. And regarding each main river in Colombia, we have developed content that explains the knowledge of the people in the basins. For instance, the knowledge of people from the Amazon basin. And for each case, we have also published the relevant articles in the encyclopedia. What are we now? We are the encyclopedia. We're transitioning to the latest version of Wikimedia. And this will allow us to have a more personalized experience. It will be more similar to what the portal looks like. We will focus on improving the mobile interface. We're also implementing a pilot project, which has just started, and it's going very well. We hope to replicate it, and this is producing articles about the cultures in La Guajira, which is a northern province in our country. It has an amazing cultural diversity, and it has one of the largest indigenous communities in the country, the Wayu. It also has people from Arabic countries, Africa, and we are producing research articles together with Colombian Wikimedians from the Guajira region. They have implemented the Wikipedia project in Wayunaki. So now article writing is commissioned to these people, and they will be published in Wikipedia and Wikipedia in Wayunaki. So we would like this project to go well, and we'd love to replicate it in other areas of the country by harnessing the presence of the Banco de la República in other areas. Future challenges. Many. We have many kinds of questions. As you see, this project is based on Wikimedia, and it's still a budding project. We have two areas. First of all, interoperability. How do we get this encyclopedia project to communicate with other content management systems we have within Banco de la República? Under our unit as well, because we have several collections, a museum manager, digital collection manager, and we're trying to centralize the searches. How do we get then Wikimedia to talk to these managers? We've been working for 4 hours already. I've already found many answers to the questions I had. It's been a very positive experience. That's one of the issues. The other one, discoverability. We would like to fully engage with the Wikimedia community in order to find bridges between our content in the encyclopedia, editorial content, technological content, and Wikimedia projects. So Lillian's experience is amazing in this regard, because this is closely connected. How we connect our knowledge, our wealth with the Wikimedia universe.
And mainly here, more than telling the story and teaching, I came to learn because I have a lot of curiosity and interest in the projects that are being presented, and that's all. Thank you very much. We have 10 minutes for questions, for Q&A session. Anybody? In those projects, you never mentioned whether you were using open licenses and how you will license those encyclopedias. In the case of the encyclopedia, the contents are the property of the Banco de la República and the work that is done with the creation of the text is a transfer of rights from the Banco de la República. One of the ideas is to open those contents with Creative Commons and common domain, public domain licenses. We would have to have a curatorship, which has to be one of the criteria. You said you're going to work with the Guajira region and that you have a Wikipedia YU project. If I understood correctly, what I saw of the YU Wikipedia has a difference that is quite different from Wikipedia that I think is very interesting to work with indigenous communities, which is to exempt them from references, because we are talking about peoples that build their memories in something that is not printed in a book. So I was curious about the books that you're working in the region, if they can be articles of people from the community that was exempt them from using these references. How does that work? In the case of the articles, we are commissioning different topics, and one of the challenges for the researchers will be to make the sources available as part of the files that we will be delivering. Many of the primary sources are verbal, and the result of the research has not arrived yet, so we will see. Hello. Sorry. So a question for Lilian, really several. Maybe I didn't hear it, but when you did the loading in Wikidata of the authorships, did you consider, because you had worked with the thesis as well, I would like to know whether you considered having direction networks to see the lineage, the academic lineage, which I understand was part of your interest, to see the field of the research there, actually of the authors. And I wanted to know about that, and whether you had any idea of how, yes, an idea, an alternative concerning the language problem that you were mentioning about the Scholia entries, and whether you had evaluated downloading the Scholia data and running it on some other free open software for visualization and eventual analysis as well. I will answer the last question, and I'll ask the first one of my colleague who speaks Portuguese. I'm sorry, I don't have my translation device. If we think that Scholia is not a solution for us, that's very clear, and it really sets a question mark on how are we headed with our knowledge. We don't have a way to create something similar. It's a conversation with affiliated groups, in a case in Brazil, to see how they can help us to develop something, or whether they can redevelop something so that we have something that we can communicate at the university. And this is fundamental for us to strengthen the project and sustain it. We need results. Otherwise, we cannot justify our work at the university. This is one aspect. When I said that we were saying work with musical compositions, this is work that we started to do, and we talked with the Wiki movement in Brazil, and we decided that we would we have all this data, and can you help us to create visualization forms that are interesting? And this is what we did in that movement of work, talking to them, and it's in their agenda and their schedule, and we hope that we will be able next year to talk with them to move forward with this. And the big problem that we have is that we do not have a lot of resources to develop what we're doing. This is the greatest university in Brazil. It has a large number of libraries, but this is people who are developing at the low level, and they have a lot of possibilities, and it's something rich because it could be used, but we cannot use it as is and say that it's okay. So at that point we need to move forward. And that, what was the first question? Can you help me? The question is, maybe I slipped on that, because when you were loading the data concerning the thesis, etc., whether you had considered to have networks of addresses, and which some universities have done it in Wikidata, and it can be used, Scholia can be used, and it can be an input for research, and it can also be a way to attain some funding, because this is an input to study, for example, the history of disciplines, of different subjects. I think I understood, but if I didn't, then we can talk later. When we upload the data, this was something important. It was to define the criteria, to see how we can work, because it's not just record articles. We have to upload a lot of data, so when we record enter our teachers, we do the link to the different affiliations and where is the alma mater where this person studied, and so we also worked on who was the doctorate mentor for whom, and so this, but here's a limitation. We decided to do it with relations, those who were USB, otherwise we would have to enter a lot of people in Wikidata, and entering people is very difficult because of the homonym, so it's not simple. The theses are not in the Wikidata. We did well included as scientific articles at that time, but I'm very interested in observing whether eventually this possibility of entering other collections in Wikidata, and one of them could be theses and dissertations, and do this connection with our postgrad programs and the teaching departments, because then we can have other data visualizations. But there's always a lot of additional data that we need to collect, and we use the Mark 21 format, and we work with open data. It's completely different, so it is a big extension of data for us to do, to survey them all. I don't know if this answer is enough, but otherwise we can talk later. Thank you very much. Bueno, mi niña, ¿ahora viene un café o me equivoco?
Sí.
No entendí nada de eso. A ver,
Tranqui, yo te tengo que pasar, estoy recuperando la cotización.
Ah, está
Estoy
todo
retrieving
bien.
el
Pero
quote.
¿por qué Mari se lo mandaba? ¿Por qué Mari se mandó esto? Creo que ayer
Stephanie tiene que hacer la factura. ¿Quién es quién?
Isaac.
Isaac es el organizador.
Ah, está. Pero nos pide que vayamos enviando facturas así. Evelyn, ya se
Vos
ve.
tranca hasta que yo no
Vos-
te mande
vos-
este mail.
Ah, está.
Desliga.
Perfecto. Está.
Desliga.
¿Y facturas vos o tengo facturas?
Cada una hace lo suyo.
Cada una
Así
hace
que
lo
está bárbaro. Pero hasta que yo no tenga esto, vos
Perfecto,
tranca.
no hurry. Perfecto.
Porque desde hace 1074 pasamos, digo, es todo lo mismo, pero tengo que hacer esa cuenta porque es con
Bueno, no entendí nada.
1074.
café, ¿no?
Sí.
Please, please. Igual esto lo dejamos acá ahora, sí, para el
Sí,
café.
está.
Lo pongo abajo.